Hey, my name is James Shepard. Thank you so much for jumping on this event. Let me give you a little bit of an agenda so you know what to expect today. I know our time is super valuable. I try to do these events very rarely, usually maybe one a month, if that, because I know it's a big investment of time, but I have things that I really care about that I'm passionate about. And at the top of that list is making merchant sales competitive, which means helping ISOs and agents compete in this new world that we are in. And so today we're talking about neobanking. We're talking about earning residual from banking. We're talking about opening your own neobank account and all of those things. So I am going to spend about 15 minutes, if that, talking about 5 words that we all really should understand and care about as we get into this new world of neobanking and banking services. Then I'm going to interview my good friend Vlad, who is the CEO at Nativia, and talk about his vision for banking, Nativia Banking that he started, and kind of his vision for the ISO agent community. Really, what's interesting about this is I think Vlad is actually the first person that at least that I know of, who has brought this concept of banking services to the ISO agent world with a residual model. Really, really cool stuff. So I'll talk to him. Then we're going to talk to Izzy, who is the head of the banking partnerships there at Nativia. And then we're going to go to a Q&A session. I'm sure you're going to have a bunch of questions for us. So we'll make sure and leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end, and as well as a special link. So if you stay around till the end, I'm going to give you a link that you can use to go to open your own free Nativia bank account where you're going to get rewards and some other really cool stuff. But with that being said, let's dive in and let's talk about this a little bit. Okay, so I've got 5 words I want to talk to you about today. The first one I think we're all very familiar with. I think it's near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is residual. So here's my first question for those of you that are attending, and that is, how long have you been selling payment processing? Number of years. So in the question box over to the right, I just want to see who we got in here. What kind of experience do we have? So I'm just curious, how many years have you been selling payment processing in one form or another? Maybe you have your own ISO. So how long have you been in the payments industry right now? So answer that question over in the question box. I'm just curious. I always love to see these numbers. I think it's so cool. Dale with 11 years, Steven, 10 years, Joanne, 13, Hassan, 18, Justin with 12, Fletch with 21, Brad with 8, Joshua, 4 years, Josh with 18, Michael, 5 years, another Michael, 12 years, 10 years, 28 years, Robert. Wow, I think you might have won so far here. Wow, there's so many people, so much industry experience here. I love it. So all of the, and I'm coming up on 13 or 14 years right now. So for those of us that have been in the industry for a little while, longer than a decade, right? It's like, this is what it's all about. I think for all of us, right? It's residual income. That's why we do what we do. We are here to build long-term recurring revenue model, right? That's what it's all about. Well, we've had a few competitors, haven't we? The last few years, okay? Let me ask you all a question. Here's a good one. In your market right now, okay, with the average merchant right now, okay, when you look at your mom and pop shops in your market today, who is your biggest competitor today with mom and pop shops in your local market? Give me the name of your biggest competitor over here in the question box. Type it out. I think most people are going to say the same name, but I want to see it. Okay. Okay. And it took, yep, square, 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 block, square, 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 stripe and square, square, square. Are we noticing a trend? Okay. Now, why has Square been so successful, right? What do they have that we don't have, right? What are they doing? Well, guess what? One of the biggest things that they have that they've been really successful with: banking. Okay. They're providing banking services to their merchants. Exactly what I'm going to describe to you right now, and what Vlad and Izzy are going to talk about. This is what Square is doing. Okay. So this is one of their big cards that they play, and this is one of the ways that they bring people in. I think everybody on here is super aware of the fact that as you have integrated payments, right? And we want to integrate things in with our payment processing, and banking services is one of those things. Even others put on here, Stripe. Guess what? Stripe Capital, right? Stripe is providing banking services. Toast, I'm not as aware with them, but I think they're moving that direction, I'm sure, right? So banking services is a big part of it. So residual. Well, there's another word that I think we're all familiar with, but that maybe we haven't really thought through in depth, and that's the word interchange. Now, when I use the word interchange, in your mind right now, what comes to your mind when you think about residual and then you think about interchange? Is interchange the enemy or the friend of residual? And the answer for everybody on here right now would probably be that it is the enemy. In other words, we charge our merchants X amount, right? Maybe they're paying 3% or something like that. And so we have a merchant, they do $100,000 a month. We charge them 3%. So we get $3,000 in fees every month, but they've got 2% interchange, right? So we lose $2,000. We have $1,000 left, which is what we split up with the processor to get our residuals. We all understand how this math works. So we look at interchange as an expense. It's the enemy. It's the thing that takes away from our residual income. But here's the thing. It's not an expense for everybody, right? Who looks at interchange not as an expense, but as revenue, as a good thing, right? What is the name of the type of entity that looks at this and says interchange is good, right? Well, that would be word number 3, banking. Okay. So not everybody loses money on interchange, right? The banks, I love that some of you are answering these questions as I go, you're already like 2 steps ahead of me here. And this is going to be very high level today, but it's something we need to all kind of start to understand, is that banks actually make money on interchange, right? So we are all thinking about this like acquiring side, or you know, the acquiring business, acquiring banks, where we're doing the payment processing and we're bringing money and depositing it into the merchant's account, and we're losing the interchange. But on the other side of that transaction, there's an issuing bank, and the issuing bank, they're issuing the card to the cardholder. And when the cardholder goes to spend that money in a business, that interchange goes to the issuing bank, and the issuing bank makes interchange, right? Wouldn't it be nice if you were the issuing bank? That could be fun, right? What if you could earn residual off of interchange? That could be interesting, right? Well, that leads us to our 4th word, and that is spending. So how is interchange created, right? Well, interchange is created when people spend money using a card. So here's a good question for our payments experts on the event today, those of you that have been around for a little while. If you look at the different types of cards, okay, and we exclude things like, say, downgrades, let's forget about that for a second. What type of card or segment of spending is going to have the highest interchange cost? I'm testing your knowledge today. So type it out in the question box. What type of card or type of transaction is generally going to have the highest interchange cost? Let's see if anybody can get this. Okay. Okay. Well, American Express, let's exclude that one as well. Okay. Many of you are getting this. Yes. Okay. So I'm letting you type it out here. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. So many of you got, now there's several right answers. So many of you got, you know, card not present, all that. But if you had to lump it into one category, it would be commercial spending or card not present spending. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Commercial spending or B2B spending, I meant to say, right? So business to business transactions. In other words, when a business owner uses their business card at another business, big interchange is created. We're talking about, you know, high interchange numbers, right? Why is that? Does anybody know why that happens? Let's see if I can get a good answer on that one. Now we're really getting into the weeds. Let's see who really knows payments here, right? Okay. What are some of the reasons why the interchange would be really high on some of these B2B corporate, you know, type cards? Anybody know some reasons there? Yeah, rewards. Now also risk does play a part in that, but rewards, right? And so that's the 5th word. Okay, the 5th word is rewards. So you know, when you think about this interchange, right, it's B2B transactions have really high interchange because businesses tend to get these business cards that have lots of rewards. Now, let's wrap this all together, and then I'm going to introduce Vlad for an interview. So before I introduce him, though, let's wrap this all together and understand something. All right. So we have interchange fees And on the acquiring side, it's an expense. But if you're the one providing the banking services, providing the card, issuing the card to the cardholder, then interchange becomes revenue. We also know that the revenue is going to be highest from B2B spending because of rewards. Well, do any of you know any business owners that spend money? Right? Yeah, right? Your entire portfolio today is made up of cardholders who spend money, and that money they're spending on that card is the highest producing revenue for interchange fees. Okay. So do we want to just make money when the money flows into the business owner's account, which is what we do now, right? We ostensibly move money from customers and clients into the business owner's bank account, and we get a small percentage of that, movement of money. Or do we also want to make money when the business owner then takes that money that they received, and when they go and spend that money on advertising, on recurring bills, when they go and spend that money on Facebook ads, when they go and spend that money on other things, do we want a piece of the interchange of the revenue that's generated from the spending, right? I would say, yes, please. I will take as much residual as I can get. Thank you very much. Not to forget, most of the small commercial, local bank offices provide a lot of really important services. We're not talking about replacing them here, but what they haven't been good at providing is great technology to help business owners manage their spending, to give them cashback rewards on debit spend and things of that nature. They just haven't been very good at that. Okay. And so we have this whole concept. And so today, this event is really about two things. First of all, I just want to present all of you with this idea. I'm not going to get real deep into this, but just this idea that you can make residual when your merchant spends money by providing them with banking services. Okay. That's number one. Okay. But then what we're going to move into with the rest of this event is that you can also create your own bank account with this technology so that you can begin to understand it. Okay. And so I think Vlad and Izzy both understand that this whole concept of going out there and reselling banking services is a very innovative idea, but it's also brand new to, our audience here. Right. And so when you think about that, it's like, well, what's the first step? Like, what do I do first? And the thing you do first is you open your own bank account. And hopefully that bank account has some really unique rewards for the agent and ISO community, which of course it does. That's what I'm going to talk to Vlad about. But this idea of banking as a service, bringing banking services to your merchants to earn residual, many of you on this call are going to be making big money on this in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, as you start to roll out banking services. So I wanted to make you really aware that it exists. It exists as a revenue stream. It exists as a new residual option. But now let's get practical and talk about what should you do today by the end of this, event. What should you do now to start to understand how this new exciting world of neobanking works? So with that, let me see if I can get Vlad in here. Hold on one second. There he is. Let's get him promoted up here to let's see. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Vlad, I've got you in as an attendee, but not as a panelist here. Okay. So give me 1 second, everybody here. Vlad, I'm not sure why I've got you in here. Let me unmute for a minute. Let's see. Vlad, you got your audio on here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why we don't have a camera view on this one, because I don't have you on as a panelist for some reason. We'll get that worked on. But Vlad, what I'd love for you to do is start off while I work on that. Tell our audience a little bit about your vision for what I just described. You obviously know so much more about it than I do. Why did you start in Nativia Banking, and what was this kind of bold bet that you've made on the ISO agent community kind of embracing this concept? Give us a little bit of your thought on this.
Yeah. So listen, I've talked about it many times over, but the idea came in from the fact that I got denied banking at Chase as a business, as an ISO, right? I've been at Chase for 20 years, and all of a sudden they called me up and said, "Look, we're your competitor." I said, "What do you mean? You're an ISO and you're a competitor, and therefore we're going to close your accounts." I said, "But I've been with you guys for 20 years." And so basically from that point forward, the idea started with, how do I become a bank or close to being a bank with services such a bank, and then it kind of grew from there and materialized into what's now known as Nativa Banking Services.
I love it. Yeah. And so one of the things I want to talk about before we get into the ISO agent banking a little bit, Vlad, is, lately we've been seeing a lot of this push for, businesses are wanting to encourage their business clients to use their debit card. Everybody wants them to use the debit card, right? Not the credit card. We also see things with the Durbin Amendment and this idea of like exempt interchange. Like some of these things, like, can you fill in some of the blanks from what I just discussed before we get to ISO agent banking? Talk a little bit about some of the trends that you're seeing with providing banking services directly to the merchant, and then we'll transition over to the ISO agent stuff.
Yes, of course. So a couple of things are driving the trends. So first and foremost, credit cards are, well known scenario. And as in our industry, cash discount is a very popular theme today, right? And you can really surcharge debit cards if you're doing a surcharge program, cash discount. You do dual pricing. You can do both. But the bottom line of it is that the reason why merchants are starting to resist this is because they really don't feel like they should be paying for all the rewards that consumers are actually getting, and the bank partners that are fueling these rewards, they're actually pushing that through the higher interchange, right? So the first trend we've seen since the pandemic is merchants are resisting interchange and they're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yep.
That's number one, right? So the next thing that you're seeing is that the credit is going to get worse, just like we've had it in 2008. That any downturn in the economy, the credit is going to get pushed down, and therefore, even if you have a credit card, the chances of you having a credit card with a good enough limit is still going to be a problem. And so, to make any large purchases, people are now flocking to buy now, pay later. I was just on the panel yesterday for buy now, pay later, and people say, well, what other areas of growth you actually have in buy now, pay later? I said, well, first of all, the area of growth that I find it absolutely ridiculous for buy now, pay later is buying grocery with buy now, pay later. Like,
right.
So you're buying food on credit over credit. That's insane considering the signs of inflation that we've seen in the last couple of years, right? And the next thing we're going to, I wanted to say to some of the panelists there that the next thing we're going to be doing is, we're going to be doing buy now, pay later for gas.
Right.
Yep. And that's to me that's insane. But the reason that I'm bringing this up right now is that buy now, pay later companies, even companies like Affirm, they're starting to do a debit card and then providing an alternative lending scheme with same rewards and everything else at a much cheaper cost to all the parties involved. The consumer that wants to get a credit, the business that actually gets an Affirm card, that's a debit card, right? So this whole process of credit cards is actually getting decoupled. The car brands are trying to fight that. You could do it on Chase now. You could pay your credits over time, but that credit still goes onto your credit report and increase your balance as well as your credit score. And I already talked about the shrinking credit ability. So now you look at these trends, right? And you're seeing that first and foremost, the interchange is getting squeezed every which way from Sunday, right? Merchants are fighting it. They don't like it. For merchant salespeople, it's hard to sell it. And, you have this interesting phenomena where you could really tap into some other ecosystem, because for years, banks made money besides credit cards on balances. They made money on the card spend, of course, but they made money on things that actually banks do, and banks hold your money. That's the number one thing. Bank holds your money.
Right.
So that's kind of where I feel the most amount of stuff is coming from, and I believe that the debit spend, if you look at the transaction data, the debit spend today in this country, this is a statistical data, 44%. So to top my words, that people are not tapping into their credit, which is the reasons I've described for, 44% today are using debit cards already. And then the obvious question is, if you're using debit cards, what are you getting for it? And the
Right.
answer is majority of the top 5 banks are getting nothing for it. They're
Right.
giving nothing for it.
Right.
And this is where the fintech revolution, and thank you, Durbin Amendment, to a certain degree,
Sure.
allows us to manipulate the system and beat the big boys in their own game. At the same time, providing the value, just like a firm provided the value with buy now, pay later, and a
Right.
firm like companies provide the value by buy now, pay later, because they're technically providing the same credit that the credit cards
Right.
provided, but in a new, very, very easy fashion, very, nice way to put it, very easy way to comprehend it. And that's the whole reason why it got popular. So I think that debit spend, that is a 44% spend in this country at this point,
Yep.
coupled with a very nice, easy ways and tools to interface, is where we can find enormous opportunity, especially in regions where the top banks are not prevalent.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And yeah, and I think what's interesting for our audience is like, the reason that your business clients today would even use a credit card for their spend, I mean, they would actually rather use debit in most cases. But the truth is, the credit card companies are the ones so far that have offered the better technology as far as spending controls. They've offered the better reward points and all that. And so, what you've done, Vlad, is you're bringing these rewards, you're bringing the spending controls, all of this stuff. You're bringing that to debit spend for businesses, which really is how businesses prefer to spend money in the first place, because there's so many issues, like you mentioned, that the push is towards debit, but the problem is the technology for businesses especially is kind of lagged behind a bit. And I think it's a really interesting opportunity. So Vlad, here's what I want to do. So for our audience, we're now going to transition the episode and transition the event, and we're now going to talk about something called ISO agent banking. But before we do that, let me say I did shoot an entire video course. It is free. You can reach out to Nativi at the end. I'll give you some contact info, and they can get you access to a free training course I did if you're like, wow, that sounds really interesting. I want to learn all about that. What I now want to talk about with Vlad and then with Izzy is this first step that you can take as an agent or an ISO to understand this new world, which is opening your own bank account. So Vlad, talk about the agent. So individual 1099 agent, they've got their, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, whatever it is in residual income monthly. Why would they want to use Nativia Banking? Talk about some of the features and benefits for them, and why you believe this is a unique service for the agent.
Right. So first and foremost, a little small history into what banking represents today and what we think the banking should be representing in the future. So we think that the banking should be specialized. Everybody has their own bank accounts. Like you go to a veterans bank, you're a Navy, right?
Yep.
You get a veterans account because you served in the Navy or you served in the Army, et cetera, right? There's no reason why an industry that has thousands of salespeople should not have their own bank. Like in the old days, it used to be a community bank. In the in other parts of the country, there's groups of credit unions used to be that service. In
Yep.
digital world today, credit unions is not a fancy word. Everything is getting virtualized, and we thought that coming from the fact that we're the payment guys, I've been in the payments for 20 plus years, and we should create a credit union in a way, a digital modern credit union of people that are involved in the ISO space and agents specifically. And so our trade has specific things. Like we like to have residuals that are coming in from an average agent's having residuals coming in from 5 to 10 different companies.
Right.
What we've created in Nativia Banking, one thing that you can get advantage of immediately right away is you can create additional bank accounts without coming to the bank ever and direct those residuals per your partner into the Nativia bank account. So if you're getting residuals from First Data, Card Connect, you can create Card Connect residuals. You get residuals from North American Bank Card, North American Bank Card residuals. Nuvei residuals. Why is it important? Well, first of all, in case they're late, right, and they could be late, you will actually see, oh, I got my residuals from North American Banker, but I didn't get it from the bank, or I got it from the North American Banker, Card Connect, slick people trying to pay me afterwards. So I think these are important little things that, yes, it's a nice to have, but this is something that we do on a day-to-day basis as people in this business, as professionals in this business, right? Same thing. I want to have a cash advance coming in. Well, I like to make sure that there's a cash advance coming in into me, and none of the people in this audience today are certified accountants or CPAs, right? So you're not going to go into QuickBooks and have an accountant come in and say, oh, let's do a class reclassification and let's run your P&L. You want to have it in a very simple and short format. I got my NAB residuals. I want to see them on the NAB account. I got my Nuvei residuals. I want to see it on the Nuvei account. I got my cash advance in. I want to see it on my cash advance accounts.
Right.
And the cool thing is, it's unlimited for us. Then you run a campaign. Let's say you have a call center and you run a campaign and you do these deals for Nuvei. And Nuvei is paying you bonuses. Well, first of all, you want to have an account for bonuses, right? Because bonuses is right away, residuals are afterwards. And so you want to spend on that campaign because you're going to need a Facebook, you're going to need a Google, you're going to need anything else you need to buy media with, even telemarketing these days. You're going to need to spend that campaign. So you want to measure that campaign against your bonuses, against your residuals. And what an easy way to do that. If you could just classify that in very simple format, you're going to end up with 5-10 accounts, but you're going to see everything at a glance very, very quickly without needing an accountant to tell you how are you doing. I think that's super important in this day.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, and so then you could basically set up and even create so just by the way, full disclosure for everybody. I mean, obviously Nativia is a sponsor of mine, but even more than that, we actually just finished a call with them yesterday because my company, CC Sales Pro, we've got 33 full-time salary employees, and we've now moved over to Nativia banking services for all of our expense management. So, we have this all set up. It's actually pretty cool. We've got different cards for different people in the company, different spending controls. And so we'll get into all that as well on the ISO side, which I think is pretty cool. But one of the other things, Vlad, that I know is going to be such a hot topic, we'll have a whole separate event for this, I'm sure, in a few months, but talk about access to capital. So like agents that have a 10, 20, 30, 40,000 a month residual, talk about maybe issues that you see with the way that currently works, where they gain access to capital, how they do it, and maybe a little bit of your vision for the future. And again, I know we're going to get more specifics down the road on this, but I'm just kind of curious at a high level what your thoughts are.
Yes. So obviously, if you're banking services, the number one question people ask is, can you do a loan? Can you do a capital? Right. And when you go to a bank, right, I myself, to this very day, the best thing I was able to get was $100,000 loan on my, thankfully, a multi-million-dollar residual.
Right.
And so the reality is, we decided that if we want to be a bank or a digital banking application, we want to do things that are relevant to the business, where we really show that we can understand the business needs more than anything else. And so if your merchant can get a working capital solution, ISO should be getting a working capital solution. So we're definitely very, very shortly going to be releasing working capital solutions for ISOs. And as you and I both know, James, we understand residuals. Chase doesn't, Bank of America doesn't. Right. We're not going to need your EBITDA numbers and be profitable. We understand you need to grow your business. So we understand how to manage residuals, how to secure these residuals, and how to make that process very, very simple, and get the money into your hands, and have a working relationship so you can propel your business further. And obviously, in the process, use Nativia Banking Services to be able to manage all of that working capital along with the residuals on a monthly, daily basis. And obviously have separate lines for your equipment. If you want to buy your PAX, your Ingenico, your Verifone devices. Right. So, it's so hard to get credit lines from equipment partners. They literally give you an exam. And I'm not gonna describe which one, but it's so difficult. We think that we can solve for that, and so we're very shortly running out a comprehensive offering that if you're an Nativia banking customer, you're going to have access to all of these things.
I love it. So I have one more question for you, Vlad, and then we're going to dive in, and Izzy is going to talk about kind of the practical side of what it means to actually set up one of these accounts. Um, Talk about the ISOs for a second. So I'm an ISO. I'm managing a team of, sub agents. Maybe I've got 3, maybe I've got 200. What are some of the unique advantages there, and why would I want to have a neobanking account with Nativia versus kind of my traditional bank account?
Really good point. So, two days ago, me and Izzy were on the call with a guy that is very, very versed in the banking services. They went through a number of people in the banking services, and they said, well, you can offer, this many reward points and this many features to the customer, but we want more fees, and we want to do things ourselves. So, and we also want to be able to we have a team of 10 people, and we want to be able to pay their residuals, and we want to pay their business, pay their stuff and manage their accounts ourselves. So first and foremost, just like with the financing portion that we're just discussing, we understand the residual business. We understand ISO business, we understand the agent business. So the first thing we've built outside of the actual application for banking is this is unique in the country. I guarantee you, James, nobody has it in this country. I can stake my reputation on it. We're the first guys that can give control to any ISO agent to manage their banking customers as if they are a banker. You'll have information that to guide them through. You don't have to call the bank. You are the banking partner. So you are that person on the panel when you walk in and say, hey, I just did a charge for $5, and they send you the customer service on the panel, and they log in and see it. You are that person. And that is so, so cool. So is your agents, if they want it to be. And so is any referral partner that you want to have. So full visibility plus full residual calculation. So you have an office with 5 agents, and those 5 agents have a referral partner. All of that is part of our residual-based system, that you don't have to do a single thing to be able to do this, and you don't need to run any spreadsheets. You don't have to waste any time. You're in the world of modern banking plus modern residual calculation plus modern banking customer service at your fingertips. That's how far we've taken this product.
So one thing here, Vlad, I want to pause for 1 second, because I can envision some of the questions that some of our attendees may already be having, and I want to answer something real quick. So we gotta be really clear for everybody to understand there are 2 different but related things that Vlad and I are talking about today, right? One of them is this idea of you providing banking services, right? A bank account, debit cards, reward points, all these things to your merchants. And in doing so, you receive residuals. And so what Vlad just described, which is actually really revolutionary, I've seen it, it's pretty cool, is this idea of you can build a portfolio of banking clients. And then just like how in your payment processing residuals, you would see transaction level data, and here's the fees that were charged. When it comes to banking, you would see here's the debit spend, here's the interchange revenue, the point revenue, here's the balances and how much residual I'm going to make on how much money they leave in their bank account. So all of the things I discussed at the beginning, all of that is there, right? And so that's one opportunity. And what Vlad is talking about here is Nativia is bringing this to the ISO world. So ISOs are going to white label and do all these things so that they can provide banking services. Individual agents are going to be able to provide it and all of that. So that's one thing. Then Vlad, one last thing would be for the ISO that says, okay, that's all pretty cool, Vlad, but I just want to pay my own agents the residual on merchant services. I just want to use Nativia banking instead of the banking I have now. Maybe you could highlight even a couple other benefits on that side of things if they don't want to sell the banking services yet, but they just want to open a bank account and see what that's like.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that part, James, is we have a feature where we're building a mini Nativia banking customer network, and it's in and out of the banking customer network. What that means is, yes, you could use Zelle, and you could use Venmo, and you can use a Cash App, but how are you going to record it, and how your accountant is going to see it? It's clunky from the standpoint of actually using it for business transactions,
right?
And it's not enough reporting for tax purposes, right? So what we've created is something that only companies like Chase and Bank of America does. If you're a Chase customer, you can transfer the money to any Chase customer instantly. And so Nativa Banking has a Nativa Banking network, and not only you can transfer money between your NAB, Nuvei, and Card Connect account that I was previously discussing, right? You can also transfer money to any one of your agents that also has an Nativa Banking account instantly. When I say instantly, we're talking 5 seconds.
Yeah. So
and all you have to do is click on push and send the money, and the money's on the account, just like Chase, and faster than Zelle.
Right. So, things like upfront bonuses that, agents, generally we want to get our money, yesterday we want, now those kinds of things are available. So the ISO can basically, set up their own banking services, provide those banking services to their agents. Those agents get a debit card that they can use. They can, of course, you can transfer money in and out of the Nativa account into a traditional bank account, of course, as well. But they could use that debit card and get instant access to bonus money, much faster residual access, things of that nature. And then I'm assuming, Vlad, you're also working on low-cost capital as well on the ISO side, right? If they're running all of this through ISO, through Nativa banking services, you've got all that data. I'm assuming you're working on that side as well, right?
Absolutely. That's going to be part of Nativa Financial Services that we're going to be rolling out very shortly.
I love it. I love it. So, Vlad, I love all this. Super interesting. I really appreciate you jumping on. If you hang out here, I'll unmute you again when we get to the Q&A. We're going to get a lot of questions. By the way, if you have a question, just type it out. I'll do my best to go through as many of them as I can at the end here. But I want to jump in here real quick with Izzy. And so I'm going to mute Vlad for 1 second here. And then Izzy, if you want to jump on, kind of get your camera up and running here. Okay, awesome. Izzy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, James. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So I got a bunch of questions for you, and we're gonna run through these really quick. So first of all, Izzy, give us like the 60-second version of your story. How did you end up getting into all this ISO banking? What's your background in the payments industry?
So my background is I've been with Vlad and his team for almost 10 years now. But previous to that, I actually was a personal banker at one of these traditional banks that we're talking about today. So this is actually running back full circle, back to banking.
Yep, that's great. You come into this now. I would love to find out for agents and ISOs, right? So let's clarify what we've talked about so far. So for the agent and ISO right now, they're listening to this. They want to understand neobanking. They want to understand all of that. Walk them through a little bit of what is the experience like? What should they expect when they go and they sign up for a Nativa bank account using the link we're going to give them here in a few minutes?
Okay, so when you're signing up for our bank account, it's super simple. It's not a big application. It's very short to the point. You basically complete the application. You can do it either on the mobile application or you can do it on our website, which you're providing the link for.
Right.
If you do it on the mobile application, you'll be able to just create a username and password. And once you are approved and it's gone through our UW, you go ahead and sign in, and you can start connecting your external accounts to start funding this, and create your account numbers to send those out to your platform so that they can start paying you residuals.
Love it. So basically, once you go through the sign up process, they create their account, then they have a bank account, just like any other bank account. I guess we should mention, like you mentioned, the underwriting. I mean, this isn't instant approval. It's a bank account. I mean, you're literally signing up a bank account.
It is a bank account. It is a financial institution attached to it.
Right.
So we do have to do our KYCs and so forth. But it's nothing, out of the ordinary. It's right. Like opening any other bank account.
Sure, cool. And then help them understand, this is a question I know we get a lot, but help me understand the difference between how they're going to use their kind of local bank that maybe they're working with now versus what they're going to do with Nativa banking services. Maybe you can help them understand that kind of those, because I know it's not like we're trying to completely replace the bank that they work with. So how does that work exactly?
Exactly. We're not looking to replace your traditional bank at all. You're going to keep your traditional bank for your ACHs and your payrolls and so forth. What we're looking to do is really enhance the basics of banking, which is the money that's coming in, you're going to get paid for, you're going to have some bonuses on that, and you're also going to create some rewards as far as spend. And that will also give you the ability to manage how you do those things. How do you spend? How do you use your funds for your own business expenses.
Right. Okay, good. And so then once they set it up, talk about how can, what are some of the things they can do as far as spending controls? They can generate physical cards, virtual cards. Like talk a little bit about the spending control side and kind of what they may get that they're not used to with traditional banking.
Yeah, so you get the ability to create any amount of accounts. So like Vlad was saying, and you had mentioned previous, if you have multiple ISO codes, for instance, which most ISOs have, you can create a specific account for each one of those codes. And obviously that's a control for incoming deposits. You want to manage that, but you can also create departments in the accounts for expenses. So if you have projects going on, you can create an account for that specific project. Or if you have accounting or risk, or if each department within your business has its own department, you can create an account for that department and you can issue cards to individuals associated with the department. So what that allows you to do is if you're going to give somebody a debit card and you say, hey, I need something from Costco, no more than $500, you can instantly create a virtual card right on the spot for $500 at that specific MCC code. So they can't spend it anywhere else. They can't do that. Or you can even create instant burner cards. So if you want to give somebody a bonus, or you want to give somebody a gift, you can say, hey, this is good till the end of the week, $200, spend it or lose it, so you can find creative ways to use our account. It actually helps with managing expenses because you'll be able to track who's spending what and in what department, and you'll be able to track what funds are coming in and for which accounts.
I love it. Yeah. The way I look at it is, guys, and again, I'm a little more familiar with this now just because I've been working with the TV banking for a while in our own business. The way I look at it is there's several benefits. One is the spending controls. Like in our business, we use it like purchase order system. You go down to the financial person, hey, I want to spend this money. They look and okay, it's in the budget. And then they make sure that your card has the limit where you can do that, right? So that's spending controls is fantastic. The next one is going to be the rewards. So they're going to get, reward points, and get cashback rewards and things on different spend. The other one I think that's so cool though is the access to capital, right? So then as you're running your residuals and stuff through Nativia Banking, as they come out with better, new offers and things on access to capital, then you're going to be first on that list and have access to those programs. So that's pretty cool. So, okay, cool. So last thing is I'm actually going to share my screen here. Hold on one second. Let me get a different share going and say we got that. Okay, so all right. So let me give everybody a link real quick, and then we're going to go to Q&A, and I'll unmute Vlad as well, and we'll run through that. So if you go to ccsalespro.com/Nativia, so Netevia, so ccsalespro.com/Nativia. I'm actually going to put this down here for everybody. Give me 1 second. All right, so it's in the chat right now. I want everybody to take 1 second, click that link and pull this up. You can click on Get Started, and it is going to take you, and you can go down through here and see all the really cool stuff about it. And click on this, but make sure you hang out for 1 second because I have one more really important thing I want to run through with everybody. But you'll see you got to, it's an application to set up a bank account. So it's what you would expect, except it's online and a little easier to use. So ccsalespro.com/Nativia, you can check that out, open up your bank account. And again, once you do that, you can, you're going to be able to just work with your processing partner to say, they don't need it. It's not like some big crazy thing. It's like you open the new bank account. So you fill out the form that says change the bank account where my residuals are deposited, and it goes to this one. So that's how that all works. The one thing I want to do though, Izzy, is I wanted to just recap what we talked about today. Okay. And you correct me if I missed something, okay, or add whatever you want to the end of this, and then we're going to go to Q&A. So this is so important for everybody. The things that I really want everybody to get out of this event. Number one, neobanking, okay, banking services. If you're not familiar with this yet, it is a big opportunity. I think, Izzy, aren't you the one as well that people reach out to, like an ISO that wants to maybe white label the banking services, or they want to create their, they want to be able to resell the banking? Are you a good contact for that as well?
Absolutely. So my contact information is available anywhere, and you can contact me. Actually, the link will go right to me. Actually, my direct number is on the application. So if you have any questions, concerns, you're more than welcome to give me a call. I'm available. Give me a call. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to answer the questions.
Love it. So we have this opportunity where you can resell banking services, And again, if you're an ISO and you kind of see this and you're like, okay, wait a second, I see something here. I don't want to miss the bus. I want to be involved in this. Reach out, talk to them about the idea of you reselling banking services. If you're an agent, reach out, talk about reselling. So that's where you generate residual income. The other opportunity, because again, in my opinion, I think for most of our audience, this is such a new thing for them. I think what's a great first step is before you go sell it, maybe you should use it and maybe you should understand it a little bit, right? So that's where we set up ccsalespro.com/Nativa. You go there, create an account, and you got to get money into the account so you can spend the money. So the best way to do that, the easiest way in our industry is put the residuals in. That's going to give you access to low cost capital down the road. It's going to give you access to all the benefits that Izzy talked about. So what do you think? Did I miss anything there, Izzy? Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty much in a nutshell. I mean, we have our own in-house residuals, and we're welcoming residuals from externally. So obviously, This is an opportunity for folks to get a bank account that actually will pay you back. On bonuses, you're going to get paid on deposits, and you're going to get paid on spend. So everything else, use your traditional bank, but for everything that's spend related, give us a try.
Awesome.
Earn something on it.
Okay, so I went ahead and unmuted Vlad's line there. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull up. So Vlad, you're unmuted. I'm going to let's see. I'm going to pull up the Q&A. So give me 1 second here. Okay, hold on. I'm going to get it up here. Here we go. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to buzz through these questions the best I can. So if you have a question, just type it out in the question box. If you need to head out, go for it. But we got a ton of questions, and we're going to do our best to answer them here. So, yeah, Joshua talks about how Thesis makes more money on issuing than acquiring. Yeah, there's so much money in the issuing space. You know, Vlad, is there anything you want to kind of add to that context of like, yeah, it's hard to explain because our industry is so used to the acquiring side, but is there anything you want to add to this idea of like issuing and why this has become such a hot thing for innovation right now?
Well, the issuing is it's really simple. The reality is that the banks, only top banks have certain services, and the small little guys that are 5,000 banks in the country, in the last couple of years, decided to partner with fintechs like us so that we can create these experiences. And card brands are MasterCard and Visa. Our card is MasterCard in this case. Are really liking the idea and sponsoring it and supporting us, and so we're able to create experiences never seen before. And it's a lot easier to create an experience and have an open mind about how a particular industry works. So think about ISV channel, where we went from just placing terminals in the credit card business to doing ISV for a specific vertical, for a barbershop, for a gas station owner, for a restaurant, etc. Like one of my biggest fans in the space is a company called Squire, not Square, Squire. Huge fan. And I became the biggest fan after they rolled out something called Barber Banking. It's the same thing we're rolling out to us today, right? Yeah. But a barber has a card and a bank account for a barber. That's what we're talking about right now. That the industry of banking industry, Chase, Bank of America, Citibank, they will never create a bank account for a barber. They'll create a bank account. They'll never create an account for a barber.
Right.
And so that is something that this innovation is creating, very specialized and building from scratch with the particular industry, a particular sales rep in mind versus anything else.
Yeah. Here's a good question for you, Izzy. So can I offer Nativa banking services to a merchant where I don't even have the processing yet? Can I go in and just sell somebody on Nativa banking even though I'm not doing the processing yet?
Absolutely. If they're a business, they're more than welcome to sign on. We take any business banking.
Love it. Love it. So lots of questions in here, as I expected, Vlad, about compensation as far as the reseller side. I know we're going to do a whole separate event on that a little bit later on. Can you give us the 60-second version or something of like, what are the big areas where the agents make residual income when they sell banking services to their merchants? Can you give, is there a 60-second version of that answer? I don't know.
Yes, there is. So the answer is our current rate compensations is varying from 1/4 of a point to 1/2 a point. outside of the benefits that the merchant gets. So in order for you to sell an account, you need to have an offer to a merchant. So we're a two-sided marketplace, right? You have to make residuals and you have to provide an offering. An offering in banking and spend is what benefits does the merchant get. If you don't give the benefits to the merchant, you're never going to make any money. So the way that we've come up to it is we've designed a program that's out of the box, gives you the money, gives the merchants the money, and based on that, you actually get paid very, very nice multiple percentage outside of the entire pie to be able to sustain a good program to the merchant that's industry competitive, and at the same time, because we don't have a branch, we don't have anything else, tap into the ecosystem of residual payments. And so the answer to you is very simple. From quarter of a point based on to half a point based on your volume commitments or ability to spend or ability to bring deposits into the bank, just like any banker in the bank would actually get paid.
Right. So in other words, to summarize that, right, we're saying you have these different components. You have the balances in the bank account. So think about at the end of the month, how much money do your merchants have with Nativia Banking? What is the sum of all the bank balances? You're going to get paid some residual on that. And then how much did they spend using the Nativia debit card? You're going to get a percentage of that. Right, Vlad, is there anything else I missed on that?
No, that's correct.
Okay, cool. Okay, so a question back for you, Izzy. One of the agents is asking, like, when they sign up for their bank account for themselves, they're just a sole proprietor. They're not like a corporation or limited liability company. Is that okay? They can sign up because it's more of like a business account type application.
That's fine. That's fine. As long as it's business related and we can prove that, then yes, that's fine.
Cool. Is there a minimum deposit to get started with opening their bank account?
0.
Okay. Well, these are rapid fire questions, Izzy. Do the cards come in the mail, like other physical cards? Can you answer that one?
Yes. So the cards are going to come either one of two ways. So physical cards will come USPS or UPS, and you pick which delivery, both for free.
Cool. Vlad, this one goes back over to you. Do you need to be a registered ISO to use Nativia Banking or even Nativia in general?
You don't need to be a registered ISO, but you need to be a registered banking partner.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. But I guess to clarify, it's like these, if an agent, in this case, it's an agent that's interested in this, who's not going to be, this isn't a large business. This would be like an individual agent. What should they do if they want to sell Nativia Banking services? What's their next step? I think is what they're asking.
Yeah. Banking is a regulated business and you have to be very careful what you promise and sure. what you tell to the customers and what words do you use. So we require a training course designed by you, James, and right. We're going to have new versions of it and a full understanding of the terms and terminology that you could do when you sell it. But outside of that, you don't need anything else that has to do with processing.
Got it.
Just call me.
Good.
They can just call me. I'll set them up.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it. You could do that.
Good. So just go to ccsalespro.com/Nativia. You'll see contact info there for Izzy. I'm going to try to get a few more of these in here. Let's see. People. Let's see here. I'm going to skip. So by the way, I'm going to send all these questions over to Izzy. And so he will have your contact information. If I skipped you, I promise somebody at Nativia can follow up here. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, we answered that one. Hold on. Oh, how does a client connect their traditional bank account, Izzy, and how do they get money out of the Nativia? Like they get their residual deposited and then they're like, well, my mortgage comes out of my regular bank account. Like how do they get the money over there? Talk about that a little bit if you would.
So as far as payees, they can add payees if they want to pay it directly from our account. So if they want to pay it from their Nativia account, you can add and manage your payees through our app. If you want to transfer the funds, you can also connect external accounts. So if you want to transfer your funds, let's say you're a business and you have your traditional bank and you need to do payroll, great. Take whatever you're going to, spend on payroll, transfer it out into your traditional bank and keep whatever you're going to spend in Nativia and use that to collect rewards.
Cool. Yeah, like for our business, we have it integrated with external accounts. And so we'll, move money in, move money out as needed to cover expenses and things like that. Hey, Vlad, talk about high risk for just a second. CBD, hemp merchants, that kind of stuff. Like, are you guys, is that something you're getting into on the banking side? Are you already into that? We have never talked about that. What's the high risk situation there?
So CBD merchants is no problem. But marijuana merchants, unfortunately, is a no-go at this time. Sutton does not accept those customers. We are still under the sponsor bank for banking services by Sutton Bank, so they have certain rules. They will not accept. They will not accept marijuana merchants. They will not accept anything that adult related.
Got it. Yep, understood. What about this is a good one. So Izzy, and this is a tough question to answer quickly, but I need a really quick answer. Benefits for a merchant. Why does the merchant switch from their current banking? Well, I guess they're not switching from that, but why would they add Nativia banking as a merchant? Can you give us the high level?
Well, just really quickly, it's the 1% cash back on every single spend. There's no categories or revolving anything.
Right.
We match 1% up to total deposits for the first $100,000 in the first 90 days. So that's extra money for them. 2% earn credit paid monthly on your average balances. Those are obviously more benefits. And you are also part of the MasterCard Easy Savings program, which gives you even deeper rewards and benefits. So there's a lot of benefits that traditional banks don't have that we do. And the ability to create cards and spend controls. These are all simple things that you can do with us.
Got it. And yeah, a couple of people had asked on the compensation. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. When Vlad said 25 to 50 points, he's talking about basis points. So 50 basis points would be, 0.5%. And again, for you guys, it's going to be a little difficult to understand some of that context because this is a very different thing than what you're used to. I would really encourage you to reach out to Izzy if you have a lot of you and you're asking really specific questions about, I want to be a white labeled ISO. How does that work? Like, reach out to Izzy and have a much more in-depth conversation because, obviously this is a very new thing for a lot of you. It's a very profitable thing, but it's new, and I would really encourage you to check that out for sure. I'm going to skip some of these specific ones. I think we're good. My goodness, you have so many. FDIC insured, Vlad?
Absolutely, 250,000 for every account, and we're working on making that even bigger.
Beautiful. So we have so many other questions here. I'm going to end it here. Let me just, before we jump off though, I want to really thank Nativia for sponsoring this event and, for putting this all together. Vlad, I love your vision for this. I can tell just from all of the comments that there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of people that are kind of like eyes opening to this whole banking reality. Vlad, you got 60 seconds left. What do you want to say to our audience about this opportunity and how you see it playing out?
Guys, we're late to the game. Square and Stripe are already doing it, and I heard in the beginning of the conversation, this was the number one competitor. Well, they are offering all of these services that we're talking about. So we're here to help you bridge that gap and not let them take those accounts away and support you from the banking perspective. And of course, I think that specialty services would be very, very important, and specializing in specific niches where you can find those categories where people are spending money on their cards. Like big deal is a debit card, auto pay for AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. They send out a massive email to all of those cell phone users that they will not give them a discount on auto pay if they are using a credit card. This is an opportunity, guys, to be able to easily give a reason for the merchant and for yourself, because you're using cell phones, everybody does, to pay with Nativia Banking Services. We are absolutely qualified to do it, and you can still get those rewards versus not getting rewards from your traditional bank account just for cell phone bills. That starts there.
Right. That's just like one of 1,000 different things. So I love it. Definitely, guys, check it out. Go to ccsalespro.com/Nativia, Netevia. If you didn't do so already, take a second right now because you're going to forget about it. I know it's going to take you a few minutes. It's a application to start a bank account. So it's going to take you a couple minutes. All right. Head over there and open your account. It's free. There's no fees on it. It's super, super simple to set up. And I would really encourage you, check it out. If I could get nothing else out of this event, for those of you, I really want to open your eyes to neobanking so you understand what it means when we're talking about it, because it's going to become a much, much bigger topic of conversation. So head over to ccsalespro.com/Nativia, open your free account, start putting residuals. You got to use the account, otherwise it doesn't do you any good. put your residuals, change your account on file, put some residual money or transfer money or do something, get some money in there, and then use the cards and spending. So Izzy, Vlad, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. It's a great event. I just got a lot of information out of it. I hope our audience really enjoyed it as well. So thank you guys both very much.
James, thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. All right, everybody, we're going to end it there. Thanks so much for all your time. Have a great evening, everybody. And don't forget to head over and open your free account and check it out.